It's so weird how watching this kind of stuff, it almost like it like shifts your own Overton window. So you're like,
Oh,
whoa,
that's
whoa.
it's your prudish Overton window is shifting because we're watching the Buttercream Gang help Widow Jenkins stand up.
Welcome to Talking to Tomatoes, the podcast where we talk about the Christian children's media we grew up on, not only for the quality, but for the pernicious propaganda behind it. I am Eric Everly.
And I'm your Buttercream-ette, Jubilee Alexander.
Oh, damn, that's right, because this is our second episode, the final one for it, so for the moment for
Fucking hope
the
so, because we're going to spend more time talking about this movie than than the movie actually took.
well, that makes sense. There's just so much to unpack. But this is our second episode for the feature films for family, feature films for family, the company, the
Feature
Buttercream
fucking
Gang.
films for families.
Where we went. So
Yes.
this is part two. Go watch the last episode if you want more detail. But just very briefly, Feature Films for Family was a Utah but not technically Mormon based media company that produced these sort of what we would probably these days call faith-based films, but they're sort of like wishy-washy about the specifics of like faith, and then this company aggressively marketed to, people wanting to get away from like Hollywood and all of that. And this is a movie that this is a movie we watched as kids, called the Buttercream
And Eric's
Gang.
taking great offense as someone who lives in Hollywood.
We're not going to go over what we went in last time, other than to say this is about a small town in undetermined state, where there is a gang called the Buttercream Gang that is really like a community helping organization. A bunch of preteen, early teen boys who spend their free time just helping people, and their leader went to Chicago to help someone and then got corrupted by the big city and came back and is making trouble. You want to just continue where we left off right after
Sure.
the big breakup, which had a line that they were so proud of because like literally 10 minutes later they keep repeating it, after this the leader and the old leader and the new leader are like clashing heads about all the stuff that's going on. Pete and Scott.
Utah heated rivalry.
Yep, the heated rivalry of Utah. Pete wags his finger in his face. He's like, in my neck of the woods, there's only two types of people: your friends and your enemies. Which one are you going to be? Or something like that. And then he repeats it constantly. So,
Yeah, he says it all the time.
yes. Take us into the dance, Jubilee.
Jesus tap dancing Christ. Scott goes to pick up Margaret for the dance, which literally sounds far more interesting than this movie has been. It's not. Scott sits romantically with Margaret's mom on the porch. There's a lot of porch-based activities in this. There's several scenes where people are like, let's have a conversation on the porch. Like, let's walk around. Like, someone goes onto a porch and then they're just like, these are vast porches. It's not like
they're so big. I sent a picture to Jubilee where I'm like, this is like, it's like from the corner, it's like a wraparound porch. So you have like the house and then the porch. And this space right here, sorry podcast listeners, like the diagonal from the corner of the house to the like inner corner of the railing, the porch, is like 5 or 6 people wide. Like you could march a marching band through some of these porches.
And it's like concrete. They're solid looking houses, yeah, where there are bunkers underneath these things. There's a very odd scene where it's just like, I mean, it's allowed. Of course it's gonna be awkward because they're like 13 or 14 years old. He's going there. He's gonna walk Margaret to the dance, and yeah, sits with his mom on. He's like, "Come sit with me on the swing." He goes, "Okay." And they have a pointless conversation, and Margaret comes out looking all dolled up. Literally, and by all dolled up, I do mean looking literally like a doll. She looks like an American Girl doll. Not saying that she's ugly, but it's just like, it's just this fakey fake, like solid hair. It's incredible.
Solid hair. I mean, the dresses have patterns on them, but I mean, it's a crew cut dress with like long sleeves and a long like it just. I mean, it makes sense for like a Mormon based.
So it's not actually a high cut because Margaret has been wearing these like dowager like queen mother dresses all the way up to her neck with like lace up on her neck. And this one it is by no means a low cut dress. I'm not implying anything like that. But it's down here because when she goes here, or when Scott gives her a corsage to put on, she says, "Well, go on, put it on me." And he goes, "I don't know how," which is fair. He's 6 years old. And then the mom goes, "Oh, don't make him do it. Here, let me." And then pins it on her boobs practically. And I'm like, was
Right?
Scott
Yeah.
supposed to pin that on his, like, because I thought corsages go on your wrist for the girl and then
We
the
were
lapel for the guy.
we were homeschooled people. Get at us in the comments
We
and
were
tell us how.
homeschooled. I'm a recent convert to being a girl. I don't know what to tell you.
We have no idea.
So they put on the corsage. It's very awkward. They have a fine conversation on the way to it. They're walking through the longest. Was literally watching them walk through this field of long grass and go. Her skirt is 100% stickers now because they're walking through an open field.
Yeah, a Utah desert small town. There's no way their shoes are covered in goat heads, and the fringe of her dress is
They got
covered
tap
in
shoes now.
stickers. Tick, 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 tick.
So they get to the dance, and some of the most egregious white people. I will say this: there were several people I looked at. I was like, they're having a lot of fun with this. There's just some generic music going on, and people are going nuts. It's not good dancing, but it's enthusiastic dancing.
Yeah,
A lot of this.
Of course, of course.
There's a DJ who looks so out of place, not because almost because he almost looks modern because he's wearing just like a nice fitted shirt with a backwards hat. I'm like half the DJ movies that come up on my or DJ videos that come up on my TikTok. I'm like, yeah, that guy looks like he'd be there. Like he's just got short hair. He's kind
You
of
watch a
cool. He's
clip
got
from this, and you watch a clip from this, and you're just thinking to yourself, oh, cool, 90s throwback like filter over the video.
yeah, no, it was very odd. He looked surprisingly modern. They're at the dance. They almost immediately they get there and immediately a slow song starts. And again, it's just like I'm sitting here thinking, we joked about how there's a lot of things that are probably not being done according to the rules, like as far as like labor laws and like all these kids, but these kids spend like a minute getting closer and closer to each other and like in a very specific way. Like they start out and they're doing the
Yeah,
what's it
the
called? What's
stiff.
the waddle? Stiff arm waddle right there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then then Margaret pulls him closer and then puts her chin on his shoulder and then puts her face on the shoulder and like wraps her arms around him. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This like in the middle of this Christian movie. It's
And Lenny and
like,
Eldon also get girls, and I mean their arms are completely around them. And yeah, we're not prudes, but this it just comes. It's so weird because it comes out of nowhere. Also, I like was paying attention right at the end. There's the fast song that's playing when they first get there, and then the slow song that starts to play are both written by the same person and stuff. And so and the first one's called like Up and Up, which made me laugh because I'm just like it's such a wholesome thing to be like we're on the up and up, like that's like literally one of the lyrics.
I promise
We or
this
it's
isn't Satan music.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, cool, like yeah, whatever. Of course they're not gonna play some freaking sex pot music, or whatever. And then the slow song starts, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be hysterical because how do you do a slow song and like keep it chaste and stuff? But then I'm like, listen, I'm like, everybody shut up. I'm listening to the lyrics, and it's like, it was only one touch. It was only one kiss, like just for tonight, and all this. And I'm like, whoa, whoa. It's so weird how watching this kind of stuff, it almost like it like shifts your own Overton window. So you're like,
Wow,
whoa,
that's
whoa.
it. Your prudish Overton window is shifting because we're watching the Buttercream Gang help Widow Jenkins stand up, and the most milquetoast bad boys in the world, and then all of a sudden
It was only one
they're
night.
getting close. Danced with many people. I've rarely danced with people as close as they were getting in this movie, and this is some family Christian movie. I don't
Yeah,
think I danced that close at my
the
wedding.
the boys looked so bad in their clothes, um, which is funny because what is it? Oh, they look worse at the dance than they do at a following scene where they're at church, and it's like surely kids like this are just gonna wear their church clothes to a dance or
Your
something.
one nice, you wear your one nice church shirt.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, while they're dancing, of course, who comes sneaking up around the edge of the outdoor dance hall apparently because but Pete and his gang.
It's a barn. They run out of a barn door earlier.
That's right. And they of course do the most heinous crime that anyone could ever imagine. They light a firework and throw it in there. And it's so funny
Content
because
warning.
content warning, explosives, fireworks, startling. He lights it, and then it's so weird
Improvise
because he
explicit
lights it,
device.
and then he goes, "Get out of here!" to his boys. Walk, walk, walk. Get up to the edge, crouch down, get ready for the timing. Not like a Saving Private Ryan. Hand me the grenade, Chuck. It's like 15 seconds. So I'm like, those that's not how you. Why would you like be doing this and then run? Like you're there to see the mayhem that you're causing, but throws it at
Yeah.
Scott and Margaret's foot and interrupts their slow dance. And at which point they charge out to defend her honor. I do want to hop back really quick because it's sort of a funny the whole slow dance scene is sort of set up earlier where the boys are talking about, are you going with anyone to the dance? So one of the boys goes, what do I do if I'm dancing with a girl and the song they start to play a slow song and one of them goes, just slow down. And that was like one of those this whole movie is like I didn't really feel like I had it memorized, but there were moments where it hit and it was like, oh, I didn't realize that was in there somewhere. Where it wasn't like, oh, that's funny. I remember that being funny, but it's more like I summon you, the memory of yes, slow down, like that exact cadence and everything. So anyway,
Incredible.
back to the dance. The boys run out like Pete and his friends freaking shot the president, and then they have a big ol' yell about it. At which point, he's like, "I told you it was my friend. There's two people, my friends and my enemies. I told you I'd get you back, didn't I?" Then they're basically like, "We're gonna fight. We're gonna have a fight about it." Which is so like Pete's reaction is just weird because he sets it up almost like it was Scott's idea, and he's like, "Tomorrow, Swanson's Field. You better be there." Which also, he says 3 o'clock. Surely, well, I guess it's probably a Friday night or something. What happens with the fight?
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's so weird. It's very strange. And so the next part is they walk out with a white flag, Lenny and Eldon, and they're like, "Okay, let's talk." And he goes, "Scott wants you to meet him by the truck in the Olive Grove." The Olive Grove, which is I looked this up. It's where they had their first kiss, and that's why they want to meet there. Pete goes to where Scott is, and remembering their love, they decide rather than fight, the terms of the challenge are that Pete must spend the day with Scott, and they're kind of like, yeah, okay, sounds fun. I believe they are recreating their first date. Then what turn? God, I the thing we floated in some gross rivers back in the day. Like we floated down some nasty commercial farm river. I cannot imagine what a a swimming hole in the middle of Utah would be like. But all this spending the day is them standing next to a swimming hole and then jumping in it and then taking their shirts off and jumping in it again and splashing each other, and that seems to take up the majority of the day because it seems like it's the sun is setting at
yeah.
the end of it, and
They
goes
meet.
on for so long.
Yeah, they meet and then they're it's like they meet in the morning, they do swimming hole activities, and then it's like at the end they're like, drying out their clothes or putting their shirts back on, just sort of hanging out with like slightly damped hair, and the sun is starting to go down. It's like, yeah, okay, we swam for freaking 10 hours.
Yeah, next to the next to the glow of the glyphosate pond, they remember old times. This is literally a scene from Brokeback Mountain.
But then he's like, yes, Pete is like, oh, it can't be like old times for reasons that I am not gonna reveal until there's less than 10 minutes left in the movie. And
There's so much of this movie left. Like, there's literally like a 20-minute baseball scene, and they play baseball. It goes poorly, and then it goes well, and then it's fine. It does not affect the thing at all, except at the
no,
very
they
end.
lose.
Do they lose?
Yeah, they
Hey,
lose.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. Pete shows up and he basically is heckling.
Yeah,
And then
Scott gets really mad. Like, probably the maddest we ever see him, except for after the dance.
Yeah,
and
and
it's
it's like
fine. It just takes up a big chunk of the movie.
they had access to a football to a baseball field, and yeah, it's so long.
Then my next note says Reverend Wet T-shirt contest. There's some kind of like carnival or something, and the opening scene is the Reverend in a dunk tank, and he jumps out, and he's just got the biggest, darkest nipples just screaming through his shirt.
Yeah, it's like
very
a white,
upsetting.
it's like a wet white shirt. Very, very unpleasant. Thankfully, we're not.
I
there
did
for
not
long.
enjoy that. 0 out of 5 stars. They're walking around, they're talking, they see Pete and his gang are being assholes. And then at the end of it, Scott gets jumped in again, kind of a shocking scene where Pete kind of like corners him. Like he's taking his bike down a small path. He steps out of the grass and stops him and goes, "Hey, don't you ever talk to me like you were at the game or that." And then the boys appear out of the grass and like grab both of his arms and
Yeah,
drag him into the city, and you literally hear, "No!" And the audio just cuts out. I was like, what the fuck? Did they just shank him? It was
that's super funny
upsetting.
because at least from my recording, your audio also cut out. You were like, no, no.
Amazing.
But yeah. I mean, there's also part of me like, yeah, that is a pretty upsetting scene, especially afterwards. You see, it's not just like, hey, they tossle him around; they beat him up. Like he's got like a black eye and a bloody lip. But
Yeah.
the camera angle is very low, so that the grass, it's like you're looking down the path, so that the grass is like up here, so that it blocks the view. But the grass is only waist high, so it's like, and Scott drives up and he like looks this way, and then the boys come and grab him and pull him the other way. So it's just like
Yeah.
it makes like visually it's like, oh, where do they come from? And there's no way Scott didn't see or hear them. They were 3 feet away from him, at best,
In a dense field.
wading through the grass, and all of a sudden he goes, "Whoa! I never saw this coming." And then we have the, I guess like moral thesis of the film in the one scene in the church where pastor, I only wear my priest collar for coaching baseball, not actually preaching.
So baffling.
Does basically like it's good to be where it was less it's not just turn the other cheek, but it was like what I think was actually kind of a decent message, which is it is easy to be good to people when they're being good to you, but if we're
Or when
only
you
good
know
to the
they're going to
people,
be good back. I feel like was part of that.
yeah, he's like, it's sort of like the real measure of like our like capacity for good or something like that is our ability to be good to people who when it is not beneficial to us, basically, or not even just not beneficial, but like they're actively harmful. Which like the whole like solidness of that message completely undercut by the fact that the 3 boys keep like turning around in their seats to stare at each other to be like, "Meh, meh," and they're the only ones reacting to anything that's happening, and they're like, "Oh,
He knows about the
okay."
fight. And I will say, from that, I remember that message being good. I can't believe I didn't write anything down about this. that message going into the next part of the film, I think is a weird instance where this kind of hokey filmmaking weirdly really reinforces the message in a cool way because we see a Scott's goal then is I will kill Pete with kindness. I'm going to be nice to him even though like not because he's my friend and I want him to be good, but because it is the right thing to do. I will kill well, I mean, it kind of doesn't even work that good. And we see this super long montage of him. I mean, it starts with him like he walks up to Pete and says, "I'm." God, what does he say to him?
It's something like you're my friend and I shouldn't like be trying to change you or something. And then
You should
Pete's
be my friend whether I approve of what you're doing or not. Which I don't know if that's the most solid thing, but he says something like that, and then Pete goes, "Ha ha ha! If you think you'll probably won't think that if I steal your bike," and he goes, and he got one too smooth. He had this. I mean, obviously it's scripted, but he was just like, "Well, if I give you the bike, you can't steal it," and he just gives him the bike and walks away. Which,
yeah.
as they cut to a wide shot, they're now three boys with four bikes. What are they gonna do with these
Right,
bikes?
the three boys with four bikes. It's
Like
like thanks,
he's like
asshole.
that
Now I have
fucking
to.
that asshole. Now I have to deal with my bike and your bike.
These roads
So
aren't good. I'm
going
gonna
from
have to put the bike on my back, one bike on my back, while I
uh
pedal with. This hurts so bad, Scott.
yeah, and we see them being really nice. And like we see them doing good stuff around town, and Pete and his gang are actively fucking it up, and they're like you see them being frustrated with it. And then the next scene will be them trying to do something nice for Pete. And this goes on, like, I feel it's five or six different things, including one really weird scene where this kid is walking with like a football and like Pete like steals, like snatches the football. And the three boys march up to him and literally look like they're surrounding him. And Pete kind of goes like this and they take the ball out of it and then they line up like to start
For
playing trying to play
line of
football with
scrimmage.
him,
Yeah, yeah.
which it was like a really good. I thought it was a really good moment. Um,
That did have a couple of weird instances. Like there's this one where the boys are like walking, the Buttercreamers are walking with it. Ugh, I can never not say that word and not feel gross. The Buttercreamers are walking with some groceries, and then the boys like classic bully the classic bully style come up to them and are like, "Eh, what kind of a what you got here." This is also a very annoying thing that happens in several different montages where there is a song that is playing over, but it is not completely drowning out the audio of the scene. So it's like you can kind of hear them talking, but it's kind of like they're like, "What do you got here?" sort of a thing. And I'm like, I know where this goes. They're going to be like, "Here, take our treats," sort of a thing. And they're like, "Damn it, I wanted to steal." But they literally just like walk around them menacingly, look in the bags, and then leave. Like they don't take anything. They don't knock
oh,
them out of their hands. They just leave. Also, there is a extremely good burn that they do where the bad boys and the good boys are sitting along the same fence, but like some distance apart. And then, as sort of like a gesture of goodwill, Scott gets up and he walks over to them, and you can kind of hear what they're saying. And it's sort of like a "mind if I join you" sort of moment. And Pete gestures to the ground. And as Scott sits down, the three of them stand up and walk away. So Scott's
yeah,
just sitting by
it's like
himself.
awkward too because like again they're all wearing these like long pleated shorts that look like he kind of like lumps to the ground and at like it kind of takes a beat and as he's looking up they're walking away.
Yeah, it's very much like, "Hey, roll down your window," and then you roll up your window as they are doing. I found it very funny.
Then randomly, again, for some reason, Scott, I guess, has a bike. He
Oh
drives
shit! No,
by.
that's gonna be the thing I was gonna interrupt, because this is after he's given his bike away, and we see all these things where that's the scene where they're stealing they're following him, taking the papers that he's delivering. So it's like it's reinforced that he doesn't have a bike, but then in that scene he drives by on a bike, and we're like, where the fuck is this bike coming from?
Yeah, whose bike is that? And then he throws a present to Pete, which I meant to go back and look. I was like, that's extremely weird wrapping paper. It's like it's like pink balloon. I don't know. You know what? I don't actually care why. That's weird. But it was just I wrapped you a present, and he throws it at him, and he catches it. And he's like, what is this?" And he opens it gently, and it's a picture of them. It's a glass. It's a glass frame,
A
and he
picture
just
frame with
threw it at
glass in it.
him.
Like, thanks, I caught it and didn't like shove my hand through it or
Yeah,
something.
push my hand through it.
And the whole him having a bike is weird because there's literally the next scene, or a scene where, again, now that Scott doesn't have, this is like the sort of literal interpretation of this make him being good and it being difficult for him. Now that he doesn't have a bike, he can't do his paper route as effectively. So he's like running down these backcountry roads delivering papers, which these houses are hundreds of feet apart, but he's throwing a paper like every like 10 steps or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's like each yard is getting like 4 newspapers. And Pete and his friends are literally running behind him, gathering up the papers, which is like just as much work as what he is doing. But then they somehow get back to his house and
Yeah, how do they beat him there with
how
all
do
the
they beat?
papers? It's
He's like trudging home while they have been doing more work than him because they have to. He's running along the road and they're having to like zigzag to
oh
get.
my
So
God,
they're
that's
literally
insane.
traveling longer. Anyway, so yeah. Oh God, it's so hard. Being nice to Pete is
But
hard.
again, I felt like it was a good represent. Like they spelled out that as the lesson they were teaching, and then they were showing, and I like that better than the. I mean, the amount of times you see either the protagonist does one good thing and they are rewarded with riches, while meanwhile the bad guy gets disrespected in front of his friends and loses his job and his wife and gets cancer and his pants fall down around his ankles and you see his whole asshole. Like you see the other person is having a good time and getting free stuff, like getting his bike and getting like the treats that he keeps stealing. And I thought it was a really good example, like in a way that a kid would really understand, like effective media in that instance.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, a better movie would have probably had a quicker turnaround in this sort of thing, but you really see like them trying in multiple ways, and in a lot of ways, yeah, it's actually pretty effective.
We are actually getting near the end of the movie.
Don't
Um,
worry, don't worry, everyone, we're getting
God,
close.
we're so close to being done. I'm almost out of notes too.
What
Oh
triggers
yeah.
what triggers Pete's whole breakdown there at the end?
Oh, the fucking gold coins.
Oh my God, we forgot about the gold
That's
coins.
okay. So there are 10 minutes left of the YouTube video. That's 10 minutes. That's 3 or 4 minutes of credits. So Scott goes
Pete's
by
house.
Pete's grandpa's house where Pete is staying and hears yelling, looks through a window and sees a masked man or a what is it, a
Pantyhose
pantyhose
over
over
his
his
face.
face man with Pete in a, does he have a knife, a gun? I don't think he has it.
No,
I think he's
he
just
just has him. He just kind of
he's
has him in a headlock and is like, "I'm gonna hurt your kid."
and he says, "Where are the gold coins, old man?" And Pete's grandpa's the most fuddy-duddy guy. He's like, "Whoa, they're down at the bank." And Pete is like,
Heretofore unmentioned gold coins. This isn't like
"Yeah,
this is not set up in any way. Like people like, oh, back with my, and also you figured Pete would have just stolen them if he. But anyway,
yeah, why did he need a?" I guess so. So basically, what is revealed, they see that they spend like 20 minutes gathering everyone else, and remember, they're all going by bikes, which I guess except for Scott because he doesn't have a bike anymore. They gather everyone up, including a lot of the little children, to wait outside for that, and they go, "Okay, old man, we're taking you both to the bank, and you're gonna get those coins and give them to me." This large man, this like big man,
yeah.
like the second brunette in the entire movie.
Oh, that's why
Um,
he's evil because he's a brunette.
that's why he's evil. He's another evil brunette. He steps out, and the 14-year-old boys. Eldon's a pretty big kid, but like the little Buttercream boys kind of grab his arm and knock him down, and then Eldon jumps on his stomach because they keep emphasizing how fat Eldon is, and Eldon is a large boy. He's bigger than the other two, but he's I don't know. He doesn't. But so the fat kid jumps on the guy And the evil criminal he literally goes, "Whoa!" like
Yeah, sticks
directly
his
into a
tongue
camera.
out.
And
Yeah,
then like
ham it up.
20 little children jump on top of him to pin him down or something. Because Eldon does that and it's his dog pile. It was some reference to some game they were playing with the little
It
kids
happens
earlier.
earlier in the film. It doesn't matter. Earthquake or
The guy
whatever.
gets up. Yeah. So the criminal man stands up. They have a Scooby Doo conversation where he goes, "What's the big idea? You trying to double cross me?" Which, what kind of a double cross is that? But then Pete immediately instead of going, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He goes, "Hey, I didn't know they would show up and ruin the plan," or something like that. And
Yeah,
it's
something
revealed
like.
that Pete was using this man to like steal the gold coins so he could leave. Which again, why? Like, I understand why he wouldn't steal the gold coins from his grandpa, um, because it would be
But if
obvious
he
he
was,
did it. But if he was, the point was to run away to Chicago. Why wouldn't you just steal the gold coins anyway? It's
yeah, no,
exhausting.
it's and at which point Pete grabs Scott and is like, just fucking, just, well, it doesn't say fucking, but just leave me alone. And then he
He just
goes
drops the
on.
F bomb out of nowhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, the one F bomb you're allowed in every the
Every
feature films for
G-rated family
families.
movie.
Yeah, the feature films for fucking families is what.
Feature
uh,
films for fucking family.
then Pete goes on, the equivalent of a rampage, which pretty sure only involves the one stop. He goes back to Graff's store, and he walks in and just oh so gently grabs Mr. Graff by the lapels and goes, "Give me the money, old man." And at which point Mr. Graff has this is another scene that's actually pretty well done, because Mr. Graff seems like both scared and like committed to this idea, because at one point Scott comes back and tells Mr. Graff that Pete is stealing from him, but
Mm-hmm.
that he felt weird about it, and Mr. Graff is like, "I know he's stealing from me, but if I so I've just started
What's
giving
a
him the
few
treats."
pennies of profit? Like, what's more important? Being kind to Pete when he's clearly he says something to the effect of when he's clearly going through something, or a few pennies profit, which frickin' better than most commercial like
Never
spots
never get
ever.
made today. Never get made today.
No, no.
And so this is like Mr. Graff obviously kind of scared because Pete is fucking demented at this point. And he's like, "Oh, you need money or something? Here." And he opens up the till and he's like, "How much do you need?" And Pete's obviously, continuing his befuddlement, and he's like, "Don't you get it? Like, I'm robbing you." And he's like, "No, here's like $247
It's a
or
lot
something."
of money. It's like, yeah, it's 1992. That is enough money to run away to Chicago from.
And Pete is like, you know, doing sort of a very classic, I guess kind of like a cognitive dissonance, not understanding why people aren't hating him. At which point he starts to like trash the store. At and again, one of these I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be lame." He's gonna like come over and like push over some like boxes of cereal. He goes to town on that store. It's like grabs a stick and like literally like flips a display thing and like full on supermarket
Clears off a shell.
sweeps.
Yeah, it was again great act because it literally the actor who plays Scott is really good when he's acting across from the actor who plays Pete. And Mr. Graff's very good. It's and then because Scott runs in and is trying to talk him down, and it's three good actors in a really intense scene at the climax of the movie, and it was great. It was a great scene. It's a
Yeah,
great effective scene.
literally less than 4 minutes. I'm pretty sure we have an establishing shot of him running into Graff's store, and I looked at the YouTube thing, and it was like less than 9 minutes left. Again, including a couple minutes of credits at the end. And then what is it? He like, grabs
He
the money
runs
and
away.
go,
Pete's gone, and they don't know where he is, and they don't know where he is for a really long time.
because we
Because
have
we
another.
then there's the turning of the seasons montage where there's a quick scene where someone says, "Oh, I heard he's back in Chicago. I think he was staying with his aunt for a or but he's not staying with his aunt anymore." So I don't really know how Scott's sending him letters. I sort of assume that he's sending them to Aunt Marie, who then gets them to him somehow.
Sure.
But you see, he keeps being like, "I wish you'd write me back." Like again, continuing to be nice to Pete, sending him letters, and he's like, "Can't believe it's been over a year since you're gone." And the closing scene of the movie is,
Oh
oh God, they make
my
such a
god.
meal of this. Scott
Scott,
walks in
yeah.
and his whole family and like all the main characters of the town are standing in a perfect line staring at him. And he goes, "Hi everyone." Like it's not the most creepiest picture we've ever shot in this movie full of Children of the Corn. And everyone said something that because I remembered it wasn't bad, but it was set up like it was bad. Someone goes,
I had forgotten, and I was like, "Whoa, is it?" I was like, "Are they really gonna go there?" Because I had completely forgotten how this movie ended.
it looks like Pete has died. Like we assume what has happened is that Pete's died. That would honestly be kind of what you would expect from this movie. Like the immoral people get punished and the good people are good. And so they go down the line and every person says the most. The dad says, "I want you to know, doesn't always turn out this way."
This is the most insane thing that ever happens because once you know what the twist is and you go back, everybody else, this stuff kind of makes sense. His does not, because it's like, what do you mean it doesn't? Like, if you were gonna say deliver that line, you wouldn't deliver it. It doesn't always turn out this way, son. You would be like, wow, but I mean, it doesn't turn out this way. It doesn't
I
always turn
can't
out this
believe
way.
this happened.
Congratulations, your journey was successful, and you saved Pete. Pete has been saved, not Pete has been gunned down in a
Yeah.
tragic drive-by. But yeah, the fucking dad. We'll get back to him, but anyway, continue.
So the dad says that, Mr. Graff says something. Margaret says, "I'm really proud of you for what you've done." And Scott, again, it keeps cutting back to Scott and he keeps going, "Huh?" It's like, doesn't always turn out like this. Excuse me? Will someone just
Was
tell me
that?
what happened? Again, energy not matching the somberness of everyone else. And they show a newspaper article, which is the mayor of Chicago. Should have looked up well, I mean, it obviously wasn't the real mayor because it was a bad photograph in a printed newspaper. That's Pete shaking the hands of some old man, and the Chicago mayor, and it's like he reads it poorly. It's like the Chicago mayor, like, is shown here thanking a member of the city's newest gang, but rather than be devoted to violence and drugs, or I don't even think they say
I
drugs,
don't
or
even think they
violence
say
and
they talk
crime,
about drugs.
they're dedicated to helping. And the reveal is Pete has started a Buttercream Gang in Chicago, which would get absolutely murdered.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, we're a
he goes
gang.
in.
I'm sorry, you cannot call yourself. I know just enough about real game. Like, again, he's 14. I'm sure people would be like, "Sure you are, kid."
Yeah,
These are not real gangs.
but
Better watch
yeah,
out.
and
This is
then it just ends, and it's just like, oh, cool. No, Pete doesn't come back. There's not
no, it
really
doesn't end. We're still not done.
wait, what else happened? Oh, fuck, right.
The
There's
very
more.
last
Oh my
bullshit, the
god.
actual very last treehouse fucking scene is all the boys are up there and Margaret, who's got there's a again because the writers of the show are weirdly obsessed with us knowing that Margaret is hot. Margaret is hot except for her glasses because during this when she goes to the dance she takes her glasses off and everyone's like hubba hubba. And during one of the letter montages to Pete, Scott mentions you should see Margaret in her new contacts. I'm sorry, this is approaching Epsteinian levels of obsession with this 14-year-old girl's appearance.
So yeah, they're in the tree house, and then
Ugh.
Margaret is basically like, "Hey, we need to. There's one more thing that we should talk about, which is I should be a member of the Buttercream Gang."
And then
At which point,
kisses Scott on the cheek, and everyone's like,
and the kiss is so weird too, because she like comes over and like comes up to him, and I was like, I'm pretty sure they don't kiss on the lips, and she like it's not just like there's like a classic thing of where someone's doing something and then the girl comes over and smooches you on the cheek and you're like, oh, look at that. But she like turns his head away and then turns it just a little more, probably so that he can be straight onto the camera, and she kisses him like on the freaking sideburn so he can go blue at the like right down the barrel of the lens. Oh my god.
you saw that at the guy behind the camera. Guys, again, a weird thing to turn someone's face, and then it's like little more. Oh, and then
Whoa!
smooch, movie ends. Jesus fucking Christ.
It is kind of funny because ultimately the movie was a lot better than I remember. I mean, like
I
we
would agree.
said, there's a lot of content. There's a couple really good scenes and a couple pretty good actors and stuff. It just in service to an absolute dog shit script, which like makes the acting even more impressive. Like I
Right?
have
Because like these kid actors were pulling performances with nothing to work with. Like this is not. It's not a bad. It's not a bad West Side Story where someone can even watch an old version and be like, well, because you see that occasionally in like you know high school acting where you can see someone doing the movie performance. But yeah, some surprisingly good. Yeah, the two kid actors were pretty good.
the
A lot of
the
bad
one
kid actors too.
a lot of bad kid actors. The one thing I don't quite remember. So we didn't even really mention what I think was like the I'm forming an idea about this kind of media and trying to identify this. Like I said, honestly, like the message, everything not that bad, except for Timu Burt Reynolds, Scott's dad, is so weird throughout the movie. Like we said, there's the first scene where he's offering some good advice, like, are you judging him based on his looks? Like, all of this
Do you
kind of
have all the
stuff.
information? Like, do you know he did this thing, or are you
You should
just
you should
suspicious?
talk to your friend rather than turn him in before something goes wrong, and which then proves to be bad advice because as we said in the last episode, it turns out Scott's suspicions about Pete when he first came to town were completely right. He's turned into a bad kid. um, then in the middle there is this scene where the dad talks about being in Nam kind of out of nowhere. It's he talks about this
What is
guy who's
going
part of their
on in that scene?
because he like his whole story is about this guy who always introduced himself as, hi, my name is whatever, my name Dan Smith, I'm a Christian. um and
Fragged,
then
immediately fragged.
and literally was like, yeah, and then he got and he's talking about setting him up, and he's like, oh, and we gave him so much crap out of over it, and I'm just like trying to figure out where this is going. I'm like, oh, this influence is going to be what, like, and then dad's going to be, and this is how I became a Christian or whatever.
Which is a
But
good, fine story to tell, I get. I don't
it
know if it's
would
a fine
be if
story to
that
tell.
was the story. It's not, because next beat of the dad's story, Dan Smith gets freaking fragged and dies in Vietnam, and everyone was like, "Wow, can't believe that happened." And I'm just like sitting here going like, "This is they're children. Like this is a lot to just sort of lay on." And I
Good
kept
point,
waiting
Dad.
for it
I'm
to
gonna go
go,
give my bike to my friend.
yeah, yeah, and then of course, and then the very final scene where he's the one person with the psychotic reaction to what Pete did. It's like, don't worry, son. Usually your all your efforts will be in vain. Is basically what it is. And I'm
So
like, what
weird.
is with these paternal figures? It's like, do they have? Because it feels like it's there's a war between wanting them to be like the wise patriarch, but also needing them to be wrong because because
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
because if they were
what
just
is interesting now that you're saying that, I guess I guess the preacher says something good, but I was like, most of the morality just is kind of organic from the kids. Like they're the ones that are like, dude. I mean, it isn't because obviously these kids like have been taught in
yeah
such a way that they are encouraging this. But I think it's really interesting. Like it could have been more interesting if it was the kids figuring that out, or like because these aren't like 6 year olds; they're 13 and 14. Like they have the facilities to be messing with this. And again, I the movie's not good enough to go with that, but it could be interesting if rather than like in every other children's morality play the adults are always correct and they're giving you the real information.
and
It
the
could be
right
interesting if
answers.
the like I don't know if there's not conflict, but just discussion of like, Pete's an asshole now. Fuck him. And he goes, shouldn't we be his friend no matter what? And then rather than feel like they're getting in trouble, if they had heard the message from the preacher and then gone and talked about it, being like, I think we should continue to be his friend and try to kill him. I mean, you could literally here's a better joke than most of the Buttercream Gang. We're gonna kill him with kindness. It's like da
Hey.
da 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 da.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like I'm sort of curious about, since I don't like understand if there's like a specific Mormon perspective happening here about, because like I feel like the perfect patriarch was the minister, because he didn't really
hmm.
mess up anything. There's a baseball after they lose the game. He's got a scene where he talks. What does he talk to Scott about in that baseball scene? Because it's like after Scott's getting hassled, he basically
Oh,
is
he's got a
benched.
metaphor. What is the metaphor? He talks about Gandhi and nonviolence, which is stupid because it's not stupid because of the thing that he's actually saying, but I'm just kind of like, I mean, they were like, we're gonna fight, and then no one ever fought. And he's just like, yeah, nonviolence, which I think kind of helps Scott sort of come up with his kill him with kindness deal.
Yeah, so I guess in some ways it sort of gets there, but yeah, it's just what is this weirdness with, because this happens in a couple Odyssey episodes that we've talked about where the dad is wrong, but he can't be that wrong because that's like upsetting the order. Then either he is not the most correct person in his household anymore. But yeah, it's just a weird little thing that I'm starting to notice. Um, but yeah, boy, as much fun as this was, there's another Buttercream Gang movie. It's called The Secret of Treasure Mountain, and I think we should do it again.
I
Maybe
absolutely think we should. We won't do it next. We'll wait for a
we'll
couple more
we'll let
episodes.
you
But
bask in the glow of the Buttercream Gang. God, I will be happy to be done saying that word though. Anyway, you can follow us on the various socials. Of course, the podcast is on YouTube at Talking to Tomatoes, and we have a TikTok, Talking to Tomato, and our personal TikToks. I am Eric.Eberly.
and I'm Titan of Joy on TikTok and Jubilee Titan of Joy on Blue Sky.
All right. Talk to you later,
Cream you later,
tomatoes.
tomatoes. No, not that one.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Stop the recording.